Greetings! Well, I got a present in the mail today. Straight off the proverbial slow boat from China. Actually, it could have been airmail. Poorly spelled. So, well, let's rip into this and see what we got. Okay, so here we have a bag full of acrylic. It's a little bag of hardware. And a bunch of pieces. So, it appears we have ourselves a bit of a jigsaw puzzle. So it seems there's a bit of disassembly required. This piece very definitely doesn't go there. Okay, so this piece does go like that on the top. Okay, so after a little bit of puzzle solving, this is sort of what it'll look like. So there aren't directions for this particular unit, which is of course unfortunate, but it looks to be fairly straightforward to put together. So I'm going to throw caution to the wind. And I'm going to pull the backing material off of the acrylic. One of the challenges will be figuring out the hardware stack up. Alright, well, the first thing that seemed to make sense to do was to put the long screws in and use the first nut as a spacer. That way that'll keep the leads off of the acrylic. Should make for a nicer fit. Like that. I did have to trim the leads from the power jack a little bit so it would sit relatively flat. And it looks like I have to trim that leg right there or this leg here for the alternative power jack. See if I can sneak my needle nose in. Yes. I also had had the nuts tightened down, so I'm going to loosen them slightly so everything fits together a little nicer. There we go, much better. Okay. Next, this, believe, gets attached to here. Then this whole thing will slide down and mount. So I'll go ahead and pull the protective covering off of the sheet of acrylic, mount the LCD to the acrylic, and then hopefully get it all mounted in. I decided the second set of nuts are to hold the circuit board in place. So I will be putting them on also loosely because I'm quickly discovering the alignment of these screws all of the holes aren't that great. It's a little unfortunate, but that's okay. So next up, once everything, so the next up, these two middle pieces, I'll get the protective covering pulled off of these, and the switches, and I believe this back panel needs to go in too. Probably already should have been in. Oh well, I'll get that figured out. All right. I've skipped ahead quite a bit. I've went ahead and put the buttons and switch pieces in. And I did go ahead and check. The sides don't need to go on until right now. And then the last piece to go on is the top. Okay, well I think I'm going to have to leave it off here. I'm having trouble with this switch not fitting through the hole in the top, and even if it does, the switches and the buttons don't stick through the top like they really should. So I'll see if I can find some directions as to how to put this together. Alright, so I did a little bit of research. And this is the picture from the Amazon listing. And it looks like they only used, one less piece than I did. So I'm going to pull that piece out, try it with just this top piece of acrylic, and see if that works any better. Alright, so let's liberate this for the moment. To check. Okay, without the benefit of a caliper, I will say these two sheets are the same size. Okay, that's not working either. I wonder if they... Ooh. Okay, I thought of a new thing to try. I'm going to double stack these nuts underneath here and see if that helps. Alright, so I've ripped it apart and I've double stacked the nuts. Let's stick the circuit board back in. Down it goes. Oh, hey! It's not going to want to come up on the camera probably, but the holes for the scope probe and the power are lined up slightly better now. So that's promising. Okay. Now I can put the LCD back in. Okay. Now, just for giggles, I will put this one on. One challenge I'm facing is the holes for this top sheet of acrylic don't quite line up with the rest of the holes. Okay, and it is a little better, I can actually reach the switches. So I think what I'm going to have to do, I'm going to run off and modify these two holes so they fit, because everything looks to be aligned to the two holes over here. So their program got these two holes off on this one sheet of acrylic. So I will fix that and I will be right back. Alright, after a little bit of hole modification, I've put it back together, and I can push the buttons, and I can kind of, sort of, almost touch the switches. So I would say this is together, or at least stacked up in a more correct manner. Let me go ahead and button it up. We'll see how it looks finished. Alright, so my thoughts. Well, here's the case. I will say it is a little disappointing. The concept is good. What they really needed to do was just do it a little better. The way the acrylic stacked, they should have used, if they would have used different thicknesses of acrylic, we could have gotten a lot nicer results, or just, you know, made the switches and buttons stick out a little further. That would work too. But as far as a case to keep it in while you're protect the electronics, well, I guess it does okay there. Let's go ahead and plug it in. As far as actual usefulness, well, that's a little harder to quantify. There we go. There we go. The test probe location's a little hard to get to. Might have to bend that wire a bit. But there it is. So, just to review, directions would have been immensely helpful. They only had one picture on the Amazon listing of the assembled box. So more pictures of this would have, at the very least, would have helped. Some sort of directions. Certainly the accuracy versus the PC board leaves a bit to be desired. The holes didn't quite line up on any of the parts. In fact, these screws, the nuts in the bottom, I left loose so the screws could wiggle around to aid assembly. My preference is if they'd have made these buttons, the switch is a little bit taller to make them easier to hit. You know, once I've got the board stacked in correctly, the buttons are okay. But just generally speaking, the hole alignment wasn't great. If they fixed that, this would be a perfectly useful little box. You know, and yeah, the clear is nice, so you can see everything. I think I would have preferred a not clear bottom, just for personal preference, or maybe the bottom out of a different material, because this acrylic's very soft. It will scratch if you look at it too hard. So to recap the recap, it's nice to have a box for the thing. I just wish the box was a little better. So thank you for watching.